Elon Musk has 238 million Tesla shares pledged as collateral for loans. You have $6,730 in credit card debt at 23% interest. One of you is being told debt is a moral failure. Guess which one? By the end of this video, you'll understand why the rich get richer using the exact thing you're told to avoid, and why they desperately need you to never figure this out. 2014 to 2018. The 25 wealthiest Americans gained $401 billion. They paid $13.6 billion in taxes. That's 3.4%. You, making $85,000 with a spouse? 14%. The barista making your coffee? Paying more than Jeff Bezos, proportionally. And none of them are breaking the law. So how is this legal? 3 words that changed everything. Buy, borrow, die. That's it. That's the entire playbook the ultra-wealthy have used since the mid-90s to pay almost zero in taxes while getting richer. Let me show you how it works, with real numbers. Step 1. Buy. You buy Tesla stock for $100. It grows to $1,000. You're up $900. Don't touch it. Step 2. Borrow. You need money. Most people would sell, pay capital gains tax. That's $214 gone from your $900 profit. But not you. You borrow $300 against that stock. The bank charges you 3%. That's $9 a year. The government doesn't tax borrowed money because technically it's not income. You just saved $214. And your stock keeps growing. Step 3. Die. You die, your kids inherit that stock at the current $1,000 value. That $900 gain vanishes for tax purposes. The loan gets paid from the estate. Nobody pays capital gains, ever. Now here's where this gets genuinely insane. Larry Ellison, $4 billion in Oracle shares pledged. Ultra-wealthy Americans, $140 billion accessed through this strategy. These loans outstanding in 2023? $175 billion. They're borrowing at 3% while their investments grow at 8 to 10%. They're literally being paid to take on debt. Meanwhile, total U.S. credit card debt in 2025? $1.23 trillion. Average household? $9,326 at 23.37% interest. Pay minimum payments? You'll pay $28,683 total over 22 years. Same word, completely different game. But it wasn't always like this. Something changed in the 90s. 1995. A law professor named Ed McCaffrey is teaching his students about tax law. He notices something nobody's talking about. The government doesn't tax 2 things: assets you haven't sold, even if they've exploded in value, and borrowed money. He coins a term: buy, borrow, die. He's not celebrating it, he's warning about it. But once he published this, the wealth management industry turned it into a product. The tax code in the 1950s? 400 pages. Today? 4,000 pages. NYU professor Scott Galloway put it perfectly. That extra 3,600 pages exist to turn rich people into super rich people. Let me show you what this looks like in practice. Michael Bloomberg, 2014 to 2018. Average annual income over $2 billion. His effective federal income tax rate, 4.1%. 4% on billions. A single person making $45,000 pays 15 to 20% when you factor in all taxes. Bloomberg is not a criminal, he's just playing the game correctly. Warren Buffett, his wealth grew $24 billion over 4 years. His true tax rate, the taxes he paid as a percentage of his wealth growth, 0.1%. 0.1% on $24 billion. Now you might be thinking, okay, but what if the market crashes? Fair question. If your collateral drops too much, you get a margin call. You need to repay the loan or add more collateral. Bill Hwang, Archegos Capital, March 2021, lost $20 billion when his over-leveraged positions imploded. But here's the thing. Hwang was gambling. He was over-leveraged and concentrated. The billionaires doing this correctly? They're maintaining conservative ratios, diversified portfolios. They're not at risk of losing everything because they're borrowing 40 to 50% of their holdings, not 95%. They're not gambling, they're optimizing. And the math, an investor with $10 million who borrows $3 million instead of selling ends up with $19.7 million more after 5 years, even after paying interest. So why don't you have access to this? Most securities-based loans require at least $100,000 in your brokerage account, and that's the bargain bin. The real advantages, the 2 to 3% interest rates, the ability to borrow against 80 to 90% of your assets, and the investment opportunities that come from having borrowed capital, that kicks in at millions. You need wealth to use debt as a wealth-building tool. Meanwhile, what debt do you have access to? Credit cards, 23% interest, payday loans, 400% APR, personal loans, 10 to 15% if you're lucky. These aren't wealth-building tools, they're wealth extraction tools. They compound against you, not for you. And here's the psychological warfare part. You're told debt is bad, live below your means, personal responsibility. And for your debt, that advice is correct. Your debt is expensive and dangerous. But when billionaires talk about debt being risky, they're not talking about their debt, they're talking about yours. A BNY wealth executive literally said, billionaires manage their personal finances the way they run a business, by utilizing their entire balance sheet, including leverage. Rich people are taught to use debt, you're taught to fear it. And that's not an accident. That's the system working exactly as designed. Could we fix this? Actually, yes. Here's how. Senator Ron Wyden proposed the billionaire's income tax. It would tax unrealized gains annually for the ultra-wealthy. Another proposal treats large loans against assets as deemed realization. You'd pay capital gains when you borrow, not just when you sell. Estimated revenue? Over $100 billion in a decade. Both proposals went nowhere. Why? The donor class opposed them. Politicians from both parties resisted. And yes, there are genuine policy challenges. What if someone pays tax on gains and the market crashes next year? Do they get a refund? But here's the thing. Every developed country wrestles with these questions. Some have wealth taxes, some have different capital gains structures. None have it perfect, but most have it more equitable than the US. So what's the actual truth here? The system isn't broken, it's working exactly as intended. It's just not intended for you. Debt as a wealth-building tool requires assets that appreciate faster than interest compounds, access to favorable loan terms, and already having money. For everyone else, debt remains what you've been told, a burden, a trap, a personal moral failing. And that's the most efficient part of the system. It doesn't just extract wealth from the bottom, it makes the people at the bottom blame themselves for the extraction. So yes, the rich love debt. They love it because it's free money that makes them richer. And they'll keep telling you to avoid it. Because the version of debt you have access to, you absolutely should avoid it. Just don't confuse their advice for them playing by the same rules. They're not even playing the same game. Now you know the game exists. Whether we can change the rules, that's a different video. If this made you angry, share it. If you think I'm wrong, comment why. And if you want to understand how money actually works instead of how you're told it works, subscribe, because this is just the beginning.